Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hire Wise Chronicles. I'm your host, Kathy James, and today we have an incredible guest with us. Joining me is Judy Smith, the co-owner and co-founder of Virtual Assistant Hub, an elite community dedicated to cultivating and elevating the skills of individuals aspiring to become executive-level virtual assistants or online business managers. Serving as executive assistant and human resource director, Judy was instrumental in shaping strategic initiatives and optimizing people operations. Judy's mission is to impact the homes of millions by helping business owners create environments where team members can thrive emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. She believes that the VA and OBM roles are instrumental in creating this very environment. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that is incredibly relevant for business owners navigating the digital landscape, optimizing the partnership with virtual assistants. We will cover several crucial aspects, including common pitfalls to avoid when setting performance expectations and how to better prepare for a virtual assistant partnership. So let's dive in. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Welcome, Judy. It's an honor to have you with us, and I can't wait to hear all the things that you have to share with us.
Yeah, I am so excited to be here, Kathy, and I think we align in so many ways in regards to how we think about hiring and onboarding. So I am so excited to dive into our conversation today.
Absolutely. So I always kick off my calls asking all of my guests a similar question. What led you to be in the field that you're in the world of virtual assistants and helping online business managers and starting the community that you started? And then it's a two-part question. What's the most rewarding aspect of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what inspired me was being an HR director, as you previously saw. Like, I love being able to impact those people within the company. And as I'm sure you know, working in HR, there's a lot of energy that goes into it, and you impact those people's lives, and you have an impact on them while at work, but also outside of work. And I
Yes.
wanted to impact more people. I was seeing, which you probably see in a lot of people on this call with their family members, like, and you feel the presence when they come home and they don't come from a great work environment. They don't work in a
Right.
safe work environment. And working in HR, I can only work with the company, and my mission is to impact millions. And to be able to do that, being able to work with multiple business owners, solopreneurs, and help them in their business, I knew I'd be able to impact, more people in a short amount of time that we have left on this earth. So that's one of the reasons why, mainly so I could impact more people. And I know how important it is to have a safe environment, and how it impacts your home, right? I've had
Yes.
siblings, my husband, I've had all these people where I'd be like, please just quit. Like, please just quit that job. It's not worth the stress that, and the emotions that you're bringing home. And I wanted to be able to provide, because, like, when you start a business, they don't teach you that, right? Like, they don't teach you that in
No.
college. They don't teach you
No.
that. Like, how do you create this safe environment once you know, launch a business? How do you make it so that your employees can thrive and your team members can thrive, and do so with a great attitude? So that's the first part of your question. The second part, what is so rewarding is that I get to talk to people all over the world in every business and industry, and it's
It's so
so neat to
fun.
see all these business ideas. And one of my, I love connecting with business owners who are heart centered. So they usually have some sort of mission, alongside what they're working with. And the VAs and OBMs, being able to be an advocate for them in their space and helping them verbalize what it is that they actually need, because it can be intimidating asking a business owner, like, hey, I really need this. Even if you're an employee, it's very like, you have this, and I've had this even happen while being an HR director. You have this PTO that you earned, but I've had people scared to ask for it off because they think that there's going to be repercussion, like something's going to
Yep.
happen because they're going to lose their job because they went, asked for a week off that they earned. So being able to be an advocate for them and help them self-advocate for themselves has been super rewarding, because sometimes, it does just like the courage to ask, right? So being able to have that community to come to in a safe place to say, like, how would I go to this business owner and ask that? Or having business owners, because I also co-own another company called Bringing Simplicity, where we do operate as an online business management team, and being able to tell those business owners as well, hey, this is how you provide that safe space before, so when they do come to ask you, it doesn't feel, and also your business isn't strained when you have these systems and processes in place when that person does need to take the time off.
Right.
And I've experienced that, myself. So yeah, I think that answered both your questions.
You did. I think that one, it's amazing to hear, you can hear your passion in your answer and your response. And I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the fact that you're willing to be an advocate, that you thought so much of it that you wanted to take that an extra step and do that full time. Because you're right, the HR in a corporate America, they're there to protect the business.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Now, they're there to protect the employees, but only as far as it protects the business. Exactly. So I appreciate you for recognizing that and taking that initiative to move forward to actually protect both.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
because that's what makes a good partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. And it's tough. It's such a tough space being in HR. And I feel for all of those people in HR where I'm like, I know I've been there and I get it. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why you take the role, is because you do want to advocate. And then you realize, oh, I can only go so far.
Absolutely. Yes. You're there to protect the interests of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, it's not all horrible, right? There's upsides to the role as well, but I definitely, because I come from an HR background as well, so there's many great aspects being able to offer, especially if you're working for a really good company that has really good benefits, being able to offer that, it helps help the associates that that they're going through a tough time, and these benefits are going to help their family and in a big way. So all of it's a give and take, right? Yeah. So yeah. So what we're here to talk about today is to help those online business owners who may have never hired before, or that maybe they have, but maybe they've gotten overwhelmed with it. Maybe it didn't work out well, or maybe they're just looking for that one extra tip to make that relationship that much better. Mm-hmm. Right. So you talked a little bit about working with your clients and trying to help and guide them so that they can make that relationship better, right? To improve that, especially when it comes to taking time off and different things like that. What are some of the common pitfalls that you've seen those business owners make, and how should they avoid those? How can they avoid that especially when it comes to performance expectations?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think the number one thing that I see is one is that they hire too late. They wait too long to hire the person that they need, is one of the most common things. So they're rushing, they're they have all of these fulfillment orders or services that they've signed on, and now they need to fulfill those and serve their new clients. And they don't have the time to now train that new person that they're bringing on. So the preparation and time, because they're like, oh, we'll just hire this person. And I'm like, well, in what hour of the day are you going to interview? Are you going to onboard? Are you going to train? Are you going to review the performance expectations that you set? So having a clear preparation and time, and knowing that it can fit into your schedule, or hiring somebody to do that, if a team to do that for you if you can't, because they'll hire someone and be like, okay, great. I'm like, great. So when can we set them up to, onboard and meet and greet with you? And they're like, in 2 weeks. I'm like, that's not going to work.
Right. Especially if you want them to start tomorrow.
Exactly. Like, wait, the offer letter said tomorrow.
Yes.
So having that time and blocking that off in your schedule. like just blocking it off as if it were a meeting, even if you're not meeting with that new hire, have that time blocked off to review their work. It's always great to onboard them, set the expectation, and then trust them to do their job, but verify that they've done it to your standard or above. And if they haven't, being able to give them feedback to say, this is what it would take to do that. And then on top of that, now most business owners, solopreneurs don't have time to do this, but if you do have time to do this, setting up training. So that can be a Loom video where you screen record, you have SOPs that they have to review, because that can give you some time of, hey, I want you to become very familiar with my product, my offer, my service that I have. Here are some things, to do. And you can have those pre-recorded so that you don't have to meet with them live, but definitely not setting up the time, not having grace. I mean, I think a lot of times solopreneurs forget what it was like to start a job, giving them grace and knowing that they may need time to unlearn how they've done things in the past to learn how you prefer them to be done. And setting up clear expectations. So saying something like, I want you to check my email every day. Even that's not even very clear.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So I want you to check, hey, I want you to check my email twice a day, once in the morning by 9 a.m., Pacific time, once in the evening, before you log off between 5 and 7 p.m. Pacific time. Setting very clear expectations and setting clear expectations of what checking the email looks like. That means, labeling it a clear inbox, providing me with an update immediately, every day that like, hey, these are some emails that I need you to look at before you log off, things like that. So setting those clear parameters, definitely. And just trusting, that they're going to, do the work, but also reviewing. I think that's the part is like, they never go back and check, and it'll be 2 weeks since this person finished a project for them, and they'll be like, they did it all wrong. I'm like, well, that's already gone and done. They're moving on to the next project, setting up those expectations so they don't continually, because nobody purposefully does something the wrong way.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. They just need that coaching, that guidance.
Exactly. So knowing that you do need some of that time. I mean, even I always relate things, Kathy, you'll learn this about me, to sports. So I'm always like, even if you're bringing in an all-star basketball player, they have to learn how things are done on your team. Like, especially like sometimes they might be switching, they might go from, a shooting guard to, like a power forward, like whatever it is, like you kind of have to learn what that is. And there's still going to be a learning curve there in some way, shape or form, even your top performers.
Exactly. And I agree 100% with everything that you've just said. But the business owner listening that doesn't have the time, that's overwhelming. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's necessary. Mm-hmm. It's necessary for success. And once you've done it, it's evergreen. Mm-hmm. You can make tweaks to it. You can make, tweaks to it a month from now, right? Mm-hmm. But having those resources and having your expectations and coming up with a clear communication plan is essential. Mm-hmm. And having that in the onset at onboarding, week 1 to week 30 at the minimum, in my opinion, is even more essential, and that's one of the things that I like to help my clients with, because it can be cumbersome, right? Mm-hmm. And I've heard in the past, well, my VA can do it. Well, not all VAs are skilled to do that, right? Absolutely. And that goes back to getting that skill assessment in the very beginning, knowing what tasks your VA or your virtual team member, whatever it might be, will be handling, and then what skills are necessary for that. And if you skip all of those, it's going to, the onboarding, the experience, the partnership, it's all going to be clunky and it could fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, totally.
So it's essential. And so I'm really glad that you brought all of that up, because there's a lot of new business owners out there. Well, not new, but new to the hiring experience.
Part. Yeah.
And they're making very quick decisions, and they're not thinking about and the repercussions, um, and
I'm,
what comes
yeah,
next,
I'm so
right?
glad you said that, Kathy, because I think like they even make rash decisions where it's like they're just gonna hire the first person, right?
Right.
It's like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you're gonna invest because you're investing time into that training
Mm-hmm.
and into that person. So, like you said, doing that assessment, having that clear, even interview process. One of my sayings is like the first day actually starts at the interview. So how
Yep.
you do, how you do one thing is how you do everything, in my opinion, and how I see it. And so, definitely setting up those expectations, like you said, and that includes this is what the onboarding and training process is going to look
Yes.
like. So they know too, so they can be prepared and set up their schedule accordingly, as well. And like you said, have those assessments in place,
Mm-hmm.
to then hire and bring them on. And like you said, if you don't make the time now, your business is going to see, you're going to have to invest the time and money later on. If you don't do it up front, you're going to have to do it later on.
And
So
how many
decide on
times
when
do
you
you
want
want
to.
to do it? How many
Exactly.
times do you want to sit down and have to
Interview
onboard and
again and interview.
train a
Mhm.
new associate? If now I understand that there are some circumstances where it's just not the right fit, but we're
Yeah.
talking about it. It looks like a match made in heaven, but everything has now fallen apart because,
Yeah.
and to me, I'm interviewing you as much as you're interviewing me,
Oh, absolutely.
or should
Absolutely.
be, right?
Yes.
So,
1000%. Yes. Yes.
and I get it. There's time, there's limited time, there's limited budget, etc. sometimes. But that's okay. I think starting with something is better than starting with nothing.
Hmm.
And that I and there are resources out there to help those business
Yeah. And to
owners.
help speed them up. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
We're here to help educate them so that they can make those wise
Mhm.
decisions, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
very
Yeah,
good.
exactly. Those wise decisions, which includes your assessment, and is an easy assessment too, to like you're gonna get so many applicants as well, like you said, like putting in even like a video portion where like, hey, send me a video about, yourself here. Um,
Absolutely.
that way you can kind of learn how they communicate, their personality, a little bit about them, and see if you align. Yeah.
Very good. Now, when they do onboard, do you have any particular tools that you are your go-tos? They're your best, they're your favorites, and you recommend all of your business owners to use these tools to help keep the remote team members engaged and informed. What would your go-to be for
Yes.
that?
I like to create a very fun and interactive hiring and onboarding process. So for me, when onboarding happens, well, we use Slack a lot of times. And
I
in
like it.
Slack, there are workflows. So if you
Yeah.
have workflows, it really is great because you can say, hey, watch this video, answer this question, fill out a form, and they can click a button and it lets you know, and you can say like, hey, Kathy, just FYI, Judy just finished watching the onboarding video and now she's moved on to this task. Or it can be, I like to make it very interactive where I even will ask them, because creating, which I know we'll get to later, is creating that company culture that you desire, is really learning about them. So, hey, once you complete this task, let me, tell me what your favorite coffee or tea beverage is, right? Because
Right.
maybe you want to send them like a virtual gift card to someplace or restaurant, in the future. And you can track that information, but you
Yeah.
also know where they're at in the onboarding process. If you know that question, they should get to that question by day 3, and it's day 3 and they haven't gotten to that yet. They either missed it and didn't complete it, so
Mm-hmm.
there's something that
Mm-hmm.
needs to be reviewed there, or they're running behind, or if they finish it on day 2, they're running ahead of time. And so, oh man, like I need to buckle up because this person is really on it.
Yeah.
So I like that it allows you to learn their ways of communicating, their pace, and allows you to know your pace. Because typically when you're a business owner, you might have other people involved in that onboarding and hiring process. I like them to meet
Absolutely.
other people on the team, and you kind of know that timeline. So that's one tool. that as far as like onboarding and training, I like to insert videos. Loom is great to record videos.
It is.
I've created onboarding processes in things like Thrivecart or Kartra, like where you can host your videos and insert quizzes and documents and downloads.
Yep.
And all of that. So I do like utilizing those as well. Application, I mean, even just something simple as a Google form, like it's included. You typically have G Suite, it's included, insert all, use the free tools that you have available first before you go out and use any other system. And
absolutely.
I would say one thing that do not launch it with the new team without going through it first. That's the
absolutely.
Go through. I think that's the one thing is like, it'll be like, I'll have this, I'm like, have you ever filled out your own application? And, like, they're like, no, I haven't. And like, well, this part is a little confusing. I went through it and realized, this part is a little confusing. I can see why people, skip that part of the application or what the case may be. So go through everything, go through your application, go through your onboarding process yourself so you can experience it. You wouldn't launch a new product or offer without going through your funnel first. So
when I started, I took myself through my own program.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to beta test it on myself. And in doing so, I found the inefficiencies.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, and I thought it was tight, but it's
like,
true. Yeah.
Feel good. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. And I love that you said start with some of the free resources. You can utilize so many different resources. For instance, I have a subscription with Microsoft 365 and I was using the Office Forms, right?
Yes, Office Forms.
But I wanted to use Zapier.
Yep, Zapier yep.
To automate a piece of my process. It wouldn't work with my Office form. So a little switch from Office Forms to a Google form, free, Zapier, free. I was able to automate another piece of the process for free.
Exactly.
And it wasn't that big of a deal to switch from one form to the other. It's just knowing which work together and which do not, right? And and going through your own process is key.
Yeah.
If it starts to get clunky and frustrate you, you can bet it's going to frustrate the next person. So, and that's with anything. I think that's with your associates, and your clients. It's just do your due diligence, slow down. It's worth it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about a lot, and it's really good information. What are some strategies besides the communication piece and the education piece that the business owners can do to prepare to build a supportive and inclusive team culture, especially in a remote setting, because it's completely different than what most companies have ever experienced before. And the larger companies, they're even having struggles still adjusting 3 years later after COVID to the remote environment, but they're getting a better handle on it. But for these small or solo entrepreneurs, this is new ground for them. Yeah,
that is a great question. And I know we both worked in corporate before as well, and it's really tough even having those. I know we had like what they call employee resource groups, right, where they were like creating inclusive environments. I think you have so much opportunity as a business owner and as a solopreneur when you're bringing on a very small team to really get to know your people. So even throughout the interview process, asking like, hey, Kathy, like, how do you prefer to be praised? Like, tell me a time when one of your managers, your previous managers made you feel really good.
Yeah.
Give me an example of what that was like. Like, what was it? And it might be that they love verbal praise. It might be, you're going to really learn a lot. Like maybe they love gift cards. Like whenever somebody bought me a Starbucks, I felt really good. So when they do something great, you can positively reward that. And then meeting with your team and setting those expectations. I think like having, daily or weekly huddles where everybody hops on and you're on camera, and maybe you call it a morning coffee chat, 15 minutes where we all just kind of get on and talk about what we have going on, obviously work wise, and you're meeting as a team, but you're also meeting individually to talk about how they're performing, how are things going, really, really knowing, and don't do it continuously. Don't do it when something's just off, because that feels
Right. Because
weird.
it's
I
not
think
just
like,
about fixing things.
yeah,
It's feedback, good and
exactly.
bad.
Exactly.
Celebrating those successes.
Yes.
Yes.
Celebrations are huge. And just like, because then it's not so weird when you do ask for, when you do give that feedback of, our areas of opportunity that they need to work on, like you said, celebrating them. And the more that you celebrate, because I had a business owner where they were, they had grown to seven figures, and rightfully so, that they hadn't, spoken to any of any of the team members. And one of the team members really, messed up a little bit. And they were like, you know what, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to like, and I'm like, but you haven't talked to them in 6 months. Like, what? You can't just
Right.
come in and be like, hey, by the way, this impacted our client. They're not going to receive that very well.
Right.
So you do have to be the one continually, working with them, praising them, like you said, celebrating them, because then when you go to give that feedback, it's received better. And
It
it's
lightens the
great.
blow a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
get lightens it a lot. And having parts of your meeting where like we all like, for instance, even in our company and our team, we always start off with like a journal activity. And if people are open to sharing, they'll share about their activity, virtual holiday parties, setting the expectation as well of like you yourself as an owner be showing up and showing up on camera. The more that you do, the more your team is going to do that, and say that, right? Like, and we even say that as part of the interview process. Like, hey, we're going to interview on camera. We're going to do a video interview,
Yep.
because we really like to get to know you. It's a big part of our company culture that we
Yep.
all show up on
Yep.
camera whenever we meet,
Yep.
no matter what we look like, right? Like we'll even say those things. And then we'll do like holiday virtual part, like have some that are fun and fun games, and virtual.
Wear a Santa hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Put
Reward.
some lights
Exactly.
on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like give a fun like $30 Amazon gift card to whoever comes the most festive is what we did. Like whoever's the most festive, and everybody votes. Virtual cooking classes are also super fun. If no one's ever done this on those calls, by the way, I've done those corporate, I've done those, like everybody loves those. They're super fun. But just finding ways to engage that don't always involve just work.
Work.
And it
Yeah.
can be giving back to your community as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even doing surveys in between, like the year, maybe once a quarter, just doing a pulse survey of,
Yep.
hey, what did what's your favorite meeting to attend to? Who on the team has impacted you the most? And you can even say that, like, hey, did you know, like, Kathy, you were voted this quarter as the one who's impacted, the team the most. Like, that's going to make them feel really good. And the fact that you have true data and you're not just like, saying it to say it, is something that, and being consistent with it. I think
Yes.
like people will start off with like meetings every week, and then they'll
Mm-hmm.
be like,
And
we
they'll
don't
fall
really
off.
need to meet anymore because you kind of got it. And it's like, well, but company culture wise, keep
Right.
those at least bi-weekly meetings of just
Yep.
connecting with your team, keeping a pulse on things, and it allows you to keep a pulse on your business as well.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we talked about this, because we talked about the communication and the technology piece, right? But you have to that human touch, right? Even if it is virtually, getting to know them as an individual, etc. And then one note about, the parties. Well, maybe you're a 2-man, 2-woman band. Okay. Do you know any other business owners that are also a 1 or 2 or 3-person team? Partner up with them. Collaborate with that business owner and combine those get-togethers so that you can throw that little mini party and offer up some cool prizes and things like that. And even if you are just a two-person team, you can still reward that associate, that individual, and it's impactful. I remember coming to my desk one day, and I had so much admiration for my manager at the time, and I knew that she was super busy, but she took the time to write on a sticky note um, something, that she was proud of me or something like that, or just something very inspirational.
Yeah.
And she was gone for the rest of the week out traveling, but that little sticky note meant a lot to me. So
Right.
you never know what the other person will appreciate and how it will
Mhm.
impact them. But knowing up front how they appreciate what little things they do and do not enjoy is
Mhm.
going to be very important. And ask. Just
Yeah.
ask. If you're
Exactly.
not sure, it's okay to ask.
Mhm.
And they're going to appreciate you asking. But if you ask, you better follow up. Like, for
Yes.
instance, if you ask what their favorite tea is in their application, you better follow through at
Mhm.
least a month or so later and show that you read that application and that you
Mhm.
took note of that.
Mhm.
Be very intentional
Yes.
and consistent. So absolutely, all the things.
I love that you shared that because of your that story with your manager, right? Because like you still talk about that till this day. Like she
Yeah.
obviously made a huge impact, and
Mm-hmm.
that quote that is like people are not going to remember what you said, what you did, but they're going to remember how you made them feel, and like
How you made them feel.
that is so huge. I love that. We need more
Yes,
that.
absolutely. So we've said a lot. This has been a really good episode, and I can't wait for the viewers to listen and watch it because it's on, it's going to be a podcast, but it's also going to be on YouTube for others to watch us, watch the full
Hey.
interview if they'd like as well. But before we say our goodbyes, do you have any other closing remarks, anything that's laying on your mind, your heart that you want to share? And then when you're done, let us know where the audience can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I have a couple final thoughts. One is if you're hiring contractors, be aware of the new laws. There's definitely some new laws out there that I'm sure you're aware of, Kathy, where it's like, as far as like being very mindful of how many hours they're working to where they don't be considered full time, what you're paying for, what you're requiring them to log in and log out. Just review those laws, be in
Yeah.
compliance, always stay up to date. And then I would say a lot of times the reasons why, you think of VAs and OBMs and all that is like you said, a VA can do everything, and it's not true. They can't do
Right. We
everything.
talked
So
about that.
so
Yeah.
learn about what their zone of genius is. And if you need their zone of genius at that time, and you may not, so table it and compile those VAs for later. But also know that they're also entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, and
Yes.
although you need them so bad in your business, be mindful of what they need to feel good in regards to their schedule, right? So ask them, like, when do you perform your best work? When do you like to log out? What would make this great for, I like to say, work-life integration, because work-life
Yeah.
balance doesn't make sense to me.
Right. Right.
Work-life
Yeah. Yeah.
integration.
Yeah.
Definitely ask that. And yeah, I would say that those are the main things. And if you haven't hired a VA, definitely try hiring a VA. It's going to help improve your business in some way, shape, or form, and move it forward, and take so much of that overwhelm and stress off of
Yes.
you. So those would be the main things. And where you can find me on Instagram, Facebook at the Judy Smith is where you can find me there. I mainly am on Instagram for the most part, and bringingsimplicity.com is another place, but you can email me, Judy at bringingsimplicity.com as well. That's my direct email.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the episode, sharing your expertise. Uh, all of the things. And I truly appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hearing more, collaborating with you more. I know we talked about that a little bit before the episode, and I'm very appreciative. Um,
Me too, Kathy. This
so
has been a great conversation, and I love connecting, with people in all aspects of hiring. And it's been really fun. Yeah, thank you for
very
having me.
good. Very good. Well, I appreciate it. Okay, to my listeners, I hope you find this episode as enlightening and informative as I did. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hire Wise Chronicles. If you enjoyed the discussion, please subscribe, rate, leave a review, and stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue to bring you more expert advice and practical tips to help you hire wisely and to build a successful team. Until next time, I'm Kathy James, and this is Hire Wise Chronicles. Thank you and take care.